Ah, stepping into the world of LinkedIn automation, are we? Don't cram all launches into a short time. It's like watering plants. They need a steady supply, not a flood. 3.
Today we're finally fixing the knowledge problem in your company. Let's do it. Building custom AI chatbots has become incredibly easy, and with ChatGPT's new custom GPTs, I've asked myself, what is actually the first thing we should do? Where can these AI bots help us the most? And so it made me think, what are the big problems probably every company has? And what comes to my mind first is the knowledge problem. And it is probably the biggest problem in all companies. As a new joiner, it takes so much time to catch up and learn everything. And when we have specific questions, it takes time to get an answer to that. And browsing internal documents or checking wikis is time consuming. So it just always takes time and energy, unless you're the walking brain inside the company. But come on, that's not the solution either. So then the goal is to democratize knowledge and make everyone as informed as possible inside the organization. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can solve the knowledge problem instantly. And it will probably take you less than 30 minutes to set up some first AI chatbot that can answer a ton of questions about your products, about your company, about internal processes, and so on. So let's have a look. And so for this video, I went a bit ahead and I built a custom GPT. I trained it with lots of information just to show you how the final result can look like. And I've used all my experience so far and put it into this example bot and this video just to show you how easy it is to go to a new level of knowledge management and have everyone in the company be able to ask any question and get an answer within seconds. It's gonna revolutionize the way we work. So what's interesting is, it's that creating the actual chatbot with ChatGPT is not even the challenge anymore. It's the less complicated task. What is gonna be more challenging and time consuming is probably to gather all our knowledge, all the documentations around processes, the products, details, technical details, implementation, how does the product work, how do we work, who is in charge of what. All this into, I'd call it a giant document that we can then upload to ChatGPT and use it to train your chatbot. And here it's really important to get creative. You might want to use some internal documents. You might want to use your help center articles. You might want to use Microsoft Teams or Slack messages and bring them somewhere together. And so my recommendation is to first start thinking and taking the time to gather every single place where you have valuable information so that then we can merge everything together. Okay, let's get to step number 1, creating your knowledge base. And so I'm using this web automation tool as my example, where I have 2 main sources of information. One is my help center. I have hundreds of pages of knowledge and information about the product, how it works with other tools, what to keep in mind. And so for this web automation tool, I'm going to use the help center articles and YouTube content as my main sources of knowledge. So in my case, I used the Notion browser extension since I'm using Notion as my documentation tool. And it's very easy. You go ahead, you install the extension, and it allows you to scrape all the pages on the internet and create a document out of this inside Notion. And so I use it to go from page to page in my help center and decide which articles I want to use for my knowledge base. You just go, click the button, and it extracts all the content, including images, including links, and puts it on your Notion page. And in order to have everything on one page, when I export the file, because that's what I want to achieve, I'm turning everything into a text component. So it puts the text from the page all on the same page, and I'm doing this page by page. Yeah, great. And so once I have my document all together, I hit the export button and it creates this long PDF file that I can now use to upload to my custom GPT as the knowledge base. And as a second source of information, and this is quite interesting, I'm using YouTube videos, since this company releases a lot of videos on YouTube about how the product works, what to keep in mind, and so on. I found it quite useful. And the trick here is to open the transcription, copy the text, paste it in your document, And later on in the chatbot, we're going to give the instruction that there might also be video transcriptions that we want to use for the answers. And now what's just important is to organize all the knowledge in like bigger topics. So you don't want to end up with 100 PDF files that you upload. So you just make sure to merge everything either directly inside Notion, or you can use some online tools to merge different PDF files. But I recommend to end up with PDF files. And that is for the reason that if you work a lot with images, for instance, and illustrations, it is just the perfect format for ChatGPT to read all the information. All right, and that's it. That's creating our knowledge base. So then let's move to the second and last step, which is building our own GPT. So then go ahead, create your own GPT and start chatting with it what you want to achieve with this assistant. So you want to make sure that it understands that this is an internal knowledge tool. You want this to act as an assistant, an expert of the company, and the job is to answer any question about X, Y, Z, and the answers should be concise. You should give links to the sources so that then the people can still read more about it in case. And those instructions can be optimized over time. You will see how you might not be happy with the answers right away, but that's something to be improved over and over again. And a small extra tip here, you can actually use ChatGPT to create better instructions. So that's my custom GPT that I've just created. My example here is a web automation company, and you can go ahead and you can start asking questions. So it is formatted in a way that I told it to do so. So for instance, trying to summarize information in a list format, adding a few emojis here and there just to make it a bit more fun to read. I also went ahead and asked it to add a joke here and there just to make it a bit more fun to read. And you can see we also have the link to the original document here. Keep in mind when scraping LinkedIn data. Okay, so the answer, it gives me more information that I would expect. So you can fine tune that and you can tell it to make the answers even shorter. So these are very specific questions, obviously. If you have a manufacturing company, if you produce products, if you are not a software company, basically, then obviously the content would be very different, but the concept remains the same. Okay, now we're getting to the pro tips. And so one thing that I find very interesting is if you are working in a software company and your product is software, meaning there is code behind, then keep in mind that ChatGPT has the code interpreter that can actually read your code. And what you can do is you can export parts of your code base, upload it to your GPT and train it based on that. So think of questions like, how does this product work in this specific scenario? How long is the waiting time for this kind of feature? How many attempts does a user have for the login, for instance? And so while all these questions might be somewhere documented, oftentimes they're not. And sometimes it's just you need to rely on the developer to get the answer. It's just so much more efficient to put it out there and get the answers thanks to the actual source of truth. One thing I want to stress out here though is you might want to consider the enterprise plan for ChatGPT just because of security reasons. Because keep in mind, the more internal knowledge you put out there, the higher the risk that it's somewhat caught by other people. So when you actually start giving away parts of your intellectual property, at that point security becomes quite a big topic. The second pro tip is actually quite a cool one, because very often you use company chats like Teams or Slack to exchange information. And since this is the place where teams nowadays come together and ask questions, is actually every time you receive a helpful answer from an expert, from someone that knows about it, from a software developer, you might want to find an easy way to bring this to your knowledge base. And so one thing you could do is use automation tools like Zapier or make.com, where you just add an integration and you click the menu icon and you say, send it to my Notion page, for instance. Or maybe in the future, ChatGPT is also going to provide an API directly to send this to a knowledge file. But for now, you just use Zapier and you start sending all these helpful responses to your knowledge base. And then once in a while, every week, every month, you just want to download the file again and re-upload it so that it gets trained again and again and again with internal knowledge. Another pro tip is when you have lots of documents to process and to turn into one PDF file, or you're just having a help center that is massive and you have thousands and thousands of articles, you might want to consider a web scraping automation tool that just allows you to get all this content in the cloud without you clicking buttons and waiting literally in front of it. And so sharing here is key, because we don't want to end up creating those super smart genius AI chatbots that we just then end up using ourselves. It doesn't really make sense. So since it's fairly easy to just publish the GPT and share it, it's super important to share these things and improve them together, because it's just going to make it 100 times more powerful than you working on it alone and keeping it for yourself. We want the whole company, everyone, to benefit from this new technology. And so with that being said, we're reaching the end of this video. So in this video, I showed you how you can gather a lot of helpful knowledge, put it together in this one super document, then upload it to your GPT, start training your chatbot, and start getting your first AI chatbot trained with your internal knowledge. And I hope you like this video. I hope you like this kind of content. I'm trying to bring these new tools and this new AI technology closer to you, closer to the companies, closer to the real world, because there is no need to wait anymore. It's here right now and we can start using it. And I'm going to give you helpful tips every week how you can adopt this technology in an easy way. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.